will we know that it has happened from Web 2 to Web 3 Web 2 to Web 3? There has been commentary lately that Web 3 has been overhyped. What the conversation is missing is a close look at how both mindsets coexist. We won't even notice when we all change over to Web 3. Internet usage has become so ingrained in our daily lives that it's hard to recall a time without it. The internet is the place where many of us go to work, visit friends and family, entertain ourselves, and much more. 20 years ago, the modern internet would have seemed straight out of science fiction. But the all-encompassing digital worlds that many of us inhabit today didn't just spontaneously appear. Looking back at the history of the internet, we can identify distinct periods marking how people interacted with the web. In its earliest days, desktop and dial-up were the norm. Later on, laptops and Wi-Fi made the web more portable. More recently, handheld devices, apps, and wireless data networks made the internet truly mobile. Today, the internet is at the threshold of another technological leap. But this time, it isn't so much about the devices that act as our portals to the web, or the places where we can access it. Today's internet is about to make the jump from the centralized, application-centric infrastructure of Web 2 into the intelligent, user-centric architecture of Web 3. And this time, the technology that will support this leap isn't any kind of physical system. Instead, the transition into Web 3 will run on fully digital wallets and tokens. But before we leap forward into Web 3, we must take a step backward, to Web 2. When we think of the future, it's easy to contract a case of what I'll refer to as Space Odyssey syndrome. The iconic 1968 film by Stanley Kubrick depicted the year 2001 as a high-tech, alien world that was vastly different from the year that eventually came. And when many people think of Web 3 adoption, it's easy to picture a leap straight into the metaverse, people walking around in virtual worlds, touting wearable NFTs, collecting their salaries in Dogecoin, and communicating exclusively via encrypted messages. The truth, however, is that Web 3 adoption will look and feel a lot more familiar than we think. This is because most people will begin to use Web 3 technology through a ubiquitous and well-known medium, Web 2. For some people, the transition into Web 3 will be a sudden and pronounced shift. Those of us who are deep in the crypto space may be spending our time primarily in Web 3 powered environment. But for most people, the Web 2 services that permeate each day will increasingly be augmented by cryptocurrency and blockchain services, leading the world into Web 3 so gradually that many may not even notice. There are already some examples of this Web 3 augmentation taking place. Perhaps the most popular is the proliferation of crypto-powered payment services on Web 2 platforms like PayPal and Square. But soon, Web 3 augmentation of Web 2 will spread much further. The leap will begin with blockchain-powered services that put users in the driver's seat in terms of how they engage with today's internet. Web 2 sites and services will communicate with wallets and tokens controlled by users, enabling a wide range of use cases in ownership rights, identity, licensing, authentication, and much more. Before we complete the full transition into Web 3, blockchain technology will make Web 2 much more user-friendly. The way people navigate, access, and interact with the internet will be transformed just as physical card transactions have been transformed. Imagine if the way we interacted with the web was as simple as the tap-and-go contactless payments that we make at the grocery store. Not only is this ease of authentication possible in Web 2, it's inevitable, imminently so. Blockchain-enabled Web 2 sites and services will soon use smart tokens, intelligent, programmable, blockchain-based assets, to verify access and ownership rights with just one click. Just like the logic stored in a credit card chip enables people to express their ownership rights in the physical world, smart tokens will allow users to tap and go through Web 2 at infinite scale. The proliferation of smart tokens through Web 2 will, for instance, remove the need to create a unique account when updating a travel booking or hiring a car, or to tediously enter and re-enter credit card numbers when topping up a mobile data allowance. Eventually, this crypto-enablement of Web 2 services and systems will lead to a transformational leap towards a fully user-centric Web 3. Little by little, Web 3 technology is going to gradually supplant Web 2. But how will we know when the transition is complete? There is no precise number of smart contracts or tokens, no prescribed moment in time, nor any particular set of requirements at all. Rather, we will know that Web 3 has arrived when the application-centric design of Web 2 has transformed into the user-centric ethos of decentralization. In other words, the infrastructure of Web 2 will be totally inverted. Instead of the centralized platforms that dictate the laws of today's internet, users will have the ability to freely express their rights and preferences, and choose precisely who and what they wish to interact with. The result will be frictionless, seamless, open communication, and commerce at a scale not previously imagined. When that moment arrives, well, no, Web 3 is here.